Hello, Christ is risen. My name is Father Dimitri Glimidakis from Lakeland, Florida. Today we're going to be going over the fourth verse of the 23rd Psalm. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So from the beginning of life until the end of life, every lamb, every sheep has to have somebody watching over them. That's what the shepherd does. That's what our shepherd does for us. Our shepherd watches over us from the moment we are born until the moment that we fall asleep and go into our eternal rest. We have to think about what exactly those verses are talking to us, because David talks about the valley of the shadow of death. What is that valley of the shadow of death? Well, it's a long gorge. It's a long place where there's darkness and there's a little bit of frightening things. And along the way, death is always at our footstep. Death is always before us. But God, He takes care of us. No matter where we go, no matter how far we go, He always takes care of us. And he says that He's not going to fear any evil for what's going on in the valley. There could be some evil things going on. We never know if there's any coyotes or wolves or cougars. I know back in Colorado, there's always a fear, and that's why, again, we would get a big dog for us to watch out. So not only does the shepherd have himself that's out there, but he also has sometimes guards guarding the places and everything like that. So that shadow of death is always before us. And there's two things that David explains, because he was a shepherd growing up. He understands these things. He says, your rod and your staff comfort me. Well, there's two different tools. Sometimes they're one tool. Sometimes it's one individual tool that has two functions, and sometimes it's two different tools. Well, the first thing is the staff. The staff, oftentimes a shepherd would have to be on his feet for long periods of time. He needed something to lean on to support himself. And with the staff, he also can make sure that the sheep would stay into their places. If he needed to push them from one field to another, he could use the staff to make sure that they're going into the places that they wanted to go. But then the rod, on the other hand, and like I said, sometimes it's the same tool. The rod has a crook on the end of it, like a J, and sometimes it's formed where it's really narrow at the open end. And what that's for is when a lamb or a sheep start going into somewhere they're not supposed to, even though they're going down this valley, even though they're going down this gorge, they may stray off into a place that could prematurely take their life. And that crook, that rod will hook onto the end of the lamb's leg, and the shepherd is able to pull that lamb back towards them. So even though we're going down this valley of the shadow of death, Jesus is using the rod and the staff. He sometimes pulls us back. He sometimes reels us back into down the path that we are once going down. And once in a while, He needs to push us back into place gently. But sometimes He does need to just yank on us as hard as He can and to bring us back into place where we need to go. It's up to us. We can listen to what He has to say, or we can ignore it. But if we do listen to what He has to say, if we do allow Him to pull us back into place, if we do allow Him to shepherd us back to where we need to go, He can continue leading us down that valley of the shadow of death. Even though there's evil around us, we will find comfort. So thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Well, God is a source of comfort. Jesus is the source of comfort that can provide for us all of our needs. He provides for us our companionship with Him. He provides us with nourishment. As we've talked about numerous times throughout the last few verses, God is a God of nourishment, comfort, protection, and now He is a God of ushering us back into place where we need to go. So today, as we're going through the valley of the shadow of death, let us remember that nothing can oppose our shepherd. Nothing can stop our shepherd from doing the task that He has, and nothing will stop Him from getting us to the end of the gorge. So Christ is risen. May the Lord be with you. Bye-bye.